Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome all new listeners and welcome back to those who have heard my content in the past. If you want to know three good tips to know which patients to push harder and when, you need to tune into this episode. Before I go on to the podcast, what is new? What is better in life? I took my daughter Alex to. This is for those who've been listening to the podcast. You know my struggle. I took my daughter to school today, and today it was a no hug, no kiss, no nothing, not even a high five. I put my shoe out, and she would only kick my shoe. That was the extent of my 5-year-old's contact with me as I dropped her off at school today. So that happened. And then my son over the weekend, Zach, has been growing very fond of fishing. So it's been great to try. I think we're trying like every single pond, lake, or area that we can fish in San Diego and Chula Vista area. So that's been great. But yeah, no. So this weekend, he is trying to navigate. Um, hmm, he is trying to negotiate a new fishing rod and all the supplies that he wants. So I'm currently putting him to work. So I'm excited for that. My son Jacob is doing awesome. He is such an angel, and I appreciate him so much. And then it's date night this weekend with my wife. So I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but monthly meetings, checkups. Whatever you want to call them. I love to just check in with my wife and what is happening, what's good, what's not, what do we need to work on with the kids, how's our fitness, what do we do next. I love to have these conversations, and I actually just had that conversation with a team member or two team members recently. That I think it's very critical that you do that with your partner, whoever that is, whether it's a spouse or a partner or somebody you just met. I think those frequent check-ins are very important, so that way you are both on the same page, and you minimize how many big arguments or disagreements that you have. All right. But yeah, other than that, life is great. Fitness is going steady, still 7 days a week. Other than that, life is amazing. So let's go on to this podcast. All right. Why are we talking about pushing patients harder, faster, and when and why, all the above? I think that naturally, as physical therapists, we want to push our patients. We want to ask them to do more. But I think there's a couple of challenges that we face. Some patients don't want to be pushed. Some patients say they want to be pushed, but don't contribute the effort to match what they're saying. And some you actually push a little too hard and you flare them up. So there's a couple different instances where in your professional development, you're trying to figure out, do I push this person? Or I'm tired of trying to push this person. They're not getting any better, or I'm scared to, I'm not sure what to happen, or I did it and I got yelled at. So in either case, you're in different scenarios on knowing how to push patients and when to do it and why. And I'm going to give you an outline today on three simple tips that I share with my team, that I use internally, and it helps you judge who needs a little bit more, who doesn't, and then lastly, how to conserve and maintain your passion and energy inside this decision making. Why? Because you'll find yourself exhausted if you try and give all your energy, all your love, all the education, everything you do, and only a certain amount of patients are actually listening. So you feel like you're giving 100%, but only 30% of those patients are actually reciprocating and giving that back. And it's very, very exhausting. So I'll help you navigate that and give you some easy tools to set you up for success and how to conserve that energy so you don't feel the burnout. And I just talked about that on my last podcast last week. And if you are wondering on what happens on during PT burnout, you listen to last week's episode. But for this week, all right. So I have some notes here. Let me give you an idea of what I'm hearing from physical therapists, sports PTs specifically, and why I'm talking about this. All right. I think the biggest factor in this is I've had a lot of physical therapists say that they love their job, right? And they're not even near burnout or they are close to burnout. But this topic is exciting slash frustrating for a lot of people, and it has to do with what I mentioned most recently, that you want to be able to determine and decipher which patients do you, is a hard way to put it, put more energy and pay more attention to than others. And let me open with, I totally get that, you want to give all your patients 100% love and attention, but there are some patients that want more of your attention. Some patients deserve more of your attention. Some don't care about your energy and attention. And now, as a healthcare provider, you're in this challenge where you now have to figure out, well, I want to help everyone, right? That's our ethos, right? Do no harm and help everyone. And now you have to figure out, well, who do I give my attention to? Who do I push? Who do I give my energy to? And I want to break this down. So if you are overwhelmed, if you feel like you're giving all the energy, or if you feel like you're concerned and you don't know how to select the right person, today's podcast is going to be perfect for you to be able to outline specifically what percent of your current patients. And now I don't know where you work, whether you're in a pro setting or a collegiate setting, an outpatient setting, you're a student, you work in a high performance center, wherever it is that you work, these ratios are going to work for you, and it'll help you figure out how to be happier in the workplace, how to be more efficient and more productive, and get the outcomes that you want, because that's what ultimately you're trying to figure out. So you're overwhelmed, you're frustrated, you feel like you're giving all the energy, or you're concerned. Let's start with a couple cases here. Let's start with, I don't know if I should be pushing this patient harder or not. Let me give you the outline that I use and I advocate for all the physical therapists that I mentor and have mentored over the last decade. Not all patients are created equal. And I think that there's a lot of people who don't like that word or don't like that statement, that everyone should be treated equally. Well, if that were the case, you'd be maximizing 100% of your outcomes. Every single patient that comes to see you would be motivated and achieving more, and your job would be easy. But that's not the case. So I'm going to break down the three main reasons why people come to see you, and you have to figure out from there how to distribute your energy. So, number one, you have to figure out and determine who's coming to see you for what. There's three main categories. People come to see sports physical therapists for three reasons. Number one, motivation. Motivation. People have tried, they've tried YouTube, they've tried Google, and it hasn't worked. And they're looking at you now, figuring out something I'm doing is not right, or they've tried everything on their own, and they had all the right tools, but they just can't they don't have the discipline to continue doing it at the same rate. And so that's why they're going through either their insurance, they're paying you out of pocket, they're doing fee for service, or doing a program, whatever it is. So number one is motivation. Number two is education. Now, this is probably the largest reason why people come to see physical therapists. It's the education, right? They've gone on YouTube, they've gone on Google, and they couldn't figure it out on their own. And they need somebody to help consolidate all that information on why and how it works for them. And the difference between motivation and education is one person is definitely more accountable. They can definitely do it on their own, but they just need somebody to help centralize all that information. And that's probably the majority of patients that you see. Then there's the motivation group, and they can do it on their own. They have all the education. They've seen many providers, but they just don't have the will to do it. And they need you. Literally, they're coming to see you because they just need somebody to like push them and motivate them and do the right things. And that's maybe a smaller percent. It might be 10 to 20% for some of you. Education might be 60 to 80% for some of you. And the last one is accountability. And accountability is they just want to stay consistent. Maybe they have the motivation, they have the education, but they just need somebody to say at the end of every single week, you're doing great, adjust this, don't do that. And the person who needs accountability is looking for something like a coach, right? They're looking for somebody to say, you're doing great, stay on this path, go left or right. Here's a bumper this way. Here's a green light. Here's a yellow light. Here's a red light. And this might be 10 to 20% for some of you. So if we do the numbers, for a physical therapist, definitely in an outpatient orthopedic setting, you might have 10% of people coming to see you for motivation, 80% coming to see you for education, and 10% for accountability. Then that helps you allocate your time and energy. Somebody who's looking for motivation, definitely, like, you can use that, right? Like, that's what they're there for. And somebody who's there for accountability might not need all your energy. They just need you to check in. And the other people just need education. So you might need handouts, home programs. You just need to be prepped for the sessions. And when you can allocate where your patients are coming to see you, then that puts you in an advantage of, well, I don't have to do 100% for everybody. I just need to do for this 20%. They don't really need a lot of the education. They just need me to show up, and they need me to tell them like they're on the right track. Then there's the 80%, like, these people I definitely need to be prepped for. I need all this handouts and everything else. And 10%, you're like, I just got to give the energy. Like, I'll give them their markers and everything else, but my job is to boost them so that they stay positive and they achieve the outcomes that they need. And now, to break down the education group, this is the one that people get frustrated on. Some of these individuals, you don't know. They say, hey, I'm interested in getting better. I want the program. I want to know how to exactly what's the home exercise, a corrective program to help get me to that next level. Within that education group, that's kind of your 60-80% group. You're going to find 80% of those individuals are motivated, they are accountable, they are the group that will do everything else. And in that 60-80%, 20% of those people will not be motivated. They say they are, but they're not going to give you everything. So within all these, you kind of have three main categories and one subcategory. And you have to figure out in your patient schedule right now, in the past, or in the future, when you subcategorize these group into 4 people, you now have a better approach to the people you serve. And so now you can figure out, well, who do I push? Well, who's asking for it and who shows you, most importantly. So if they are saying that they need the help, but they're not showing it with compliance, they're not showing up early, they're not, apologizing if they're late, they're not, they seem like they're not in it to win it. Those people don't need 100% of your energy. And that's a hard reality for a lot of physical therapists to take on. But the reality is, if you give 100% of your energy and effort and put all your dedication into programs and everybody else, and those people, let's say 40%, aren't willing to do it, and they're not going to do it, then you're wasting your time. And so not all patients are created equal. And you need to hear that. And you need to understand, you have to be able to decipher who needs it, who needs your attention. Because if you think that you're going to do it all 100% every single week, and you're not getting that reciprocated, you're going to get burned out. So if you're looking to conserve your energy for the right things, the right times, so that way you feel you're being productive across a week, this is where you need to spend your energy. This is the people that you push. This is the people that you do that. And you have to start by looking at your schedule at the beginning of the week. Now, this is where I think where a lot of physical therapists fail. They'll find themselves in a position where they see the schedule and they're looking at, well, now I have 40 to 80 people on my schedule. I have all this work to do. Now, can we triage this and say, well, listen, on Monday, I have 2 energy sucking patients that are not going to be doing that. Is it possible that I can give 80% of my effort to the rest of the group, and those 20% for this week, I don't need to do that because I know that they're not really in it to win it, but you still need to give them the bare minimum until they show that. And those are good conversations to have with people. So what you need to do is look at your day and your week and say, okay, well, on Monday, it looks like I have three people who need a lot of education, two are motivation, one is accountability. And you're like, okay, so that makes it easier. And then I have two or three other people who necessarily aren't in it to win it, but I'll give them enough. So then who am I spending the most amount of time on? Who am I programming for? Those are the people who need the education and have shown it with compliance, and their will to get better is strong. Those are the people you're going to focus on. So Monday, I only have three people to do. Perfect. Now I know I'm not giving 100% to everybody. Now I'm just focusing on these people. Now, every single week you're going to have to start do this, because then the following week you can say, listen, this week I have a lot more of those people. That means I have less energy sucking patients, and those are the ones that I can just put on cruise control. Now some of those, like people who are not necessarily in it to win it, might change, and then they come up and become high priority. And the people who were high priority before, now they're like, I got it, I can control it, I don't need a lot of your help, I just need to make sure that I'm on the right track. Those people need less attention. So you're just constantly shifting your energy and focus on who needs it right now and why, and what do you need to do to adjust. So you look at the schedule at the start of the week, determine who needs your energy, your effort, and planning to be able to progress them and push them a little bit more. Figure out who is in those three categories plus the one subcategory. And once you can figure that out, you've triaged that, you're now in a position where you're like, okay, I can understand my week, and I can understand on Wednesday, I have a big day. On Thursday, I've got a lot of people who are on cruise control. They don't need me very much. On Friday, I've got one or two. Now you can plan your week across, and you're like, gosh, okay, the week looks great. Even though I have 40 to 80 patients, I know where my energy is going to be pushed towards. And the great part about this is, if you know that Thursday is going to be a big day, not in terms of number of patients, but the number of patients who require your energy, who require you to be pushing them, who they need the motivation, accountability, and the education, and they're willing to do it and they're motivated. If you have a lot of those people on Thursday, the way I advocate that you set this up, and this is what I do personally, is that then I'll change up my routine so that I go to the gym in the morning instead of the evening, because I know at the end of that session or at the end of that day, I'm not going to be going to the gym because it's a big energy day. So I adjust my week based on the things that I'm forecasting for the week. Where's my energy going to be? Who do I need to push? Who needs my attention right now? Because if you think that you can give 100% energy, 100% effort to people who are not giving it to you, you're in the wrong place. Like, that's not sustainable. You will achieve burnout faster than anybody that I've ever met. And if you can learn to do this puts you in a place where you can balance your professional career with your personal life, and you don't feel so overwhelmed. And that's how it prevents burnout. And people talk about workplace balance. I think there's a workplace harmony where you can, look at your week, and not every week is created equal. And that's a great part of being a creative, progressive professional. And that you're like, there's not 52 weeks. It's 52 weeks, yes, in a year, but some weeks you're giving highs, some weeks you're giving low, because you're on cruise control. And that's how your professional growth happens. You cannot go 100% every single week for 52 weeks. It's not sustainable. And I would never advocate for that. Now, if you're going to do that, just know that you're going to have a hard year. You're probably not your fitness is not going to be strong. Your personal life's going to be, wrecked. I think you have a lot of things ahead of you. And if you look at your your patients across the week, you're trying to figure out who to push. I think you have to figure out, before I start pushing them, do they deserve the attention this week? Or are they on cruise control? Or they just need me for accountability and motivation? I don't need a crank on them. The ones who need high education, high manual work, those are high effort, high energy. Great. Those are my heavy hitters this week. I know Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, those are going to be big. Got it. I have to plan accordingly. Tuesdays and Fridays look nice and easy. Then the following week, and you're just constantly looking at your schedule and reflecting. So the first part, and I said, I give you 3 easy tips. The first part of this is to look at your schedule at the start of the week and determine who needs your attention and energy to be able to push them. Who's willing to do it? Who's the prime candidates this week to do that? That's number 1. Number 2, now you have to plan accordingly who needs it, and then monitor those on cruise control. I say cruise control because you might have some post-ops, you might have some recurrent shoulder pain. Might have some regulars that like they're doing great as long as they don't mess anything up. So you still need to check in with them and make sure, like, let me see your range. Are you at 178? You held it, or you dropped down to 110. Like the ones who just need to, I call them tune-ups. They just need like little things here and there. They don't need a ton of things. Those individuals don't need a lot of work for me this week. So I call them just, they're on cruise control. Let them ride. That's perfect. Then I have my problem child people who don't show up, they're late and they're not motivated. Those people, I'm going to let them ride. I'm going to do enough. I'm going to allow them to, have a home program, but show I have compassion and care, but I know the effort's not going to be there. So I'm going to do just enough. So I have my just enough people, I have my cruise control, and then I have everybody else who's in it to win it. And those are the people who deserve my attention. Those are the ones who are going to be pushed. Those are the ones who just need to be pushed to that next level. And once you've looked at the schedule, you've now adjusted and looked at your ratios. You have your cruise control people, you have your just enough, and then you have your progressive. They just need the education and maybe manual work, whatever it is from you. Those people are going to need it. So I've looked at the schedule. I've now planned accordingly. The last piece, the third part about this is at the end of the week, I look at the schedule and I say, okay, that's what I forecasted, right? That's everything that I wanted. And I made my adjustments. And at the end of the week, I'll look at the schedule and it's on Friday, whatever it is, or Saturday morning. And I'll say, hey, okay, so what went right there? Who did I not forecast to need more? Where did I spend more time and energy that I didn't need to? Who's on cruise control? I shouldn't have done that. And it's just constant reflecting, because what that does is it puts you in an efficient standpoint where you're like, you begin to identify which patients need you more. And when you can do that, that puts you in a position where you now can be self-reflective. You can now think and figure things out on your own. And that's the challenge with a lot of clinicians. We always doubt ourselves. You always put yourself in a position where you're like, I just need somebody's help. I need to like work through these things. And you ultimately want to be independent, right? That's the ultimate goal, where you can just make those reflections on yourself and figure out, did I do the right thing? And so that won't happen unless you're starting to constantly reflect and make progress. So number one is look at the schedule. Number two is plan and make adjustments during the week. And number three is reflect on the week and figure out, what went right, what went wrong? And then on Sunday is when I look at the schedule and I'll say, great, now I got to figure it out who is for the following week. And when you do this enough times, you might be like, well, Chris, that sounds like a lot of work. It is initially, but once you do this, you're probably spending 5-10 minutes on a Sunday. So that way your quality of life is high for the following week. I think all of us would make that easy, quick adjustment. So my ultimate goal for you is, I don't want you spending time on energy sucking patients and only push people and spend that energy and time on the people who have shown you that, who are in it to win it, who want it. But then you got to find the good enough spot that you can get people who are not completely in it, just enough that they feel valued and they're making progress. And when you can learn to do this as a clinician, it's so powerful. You feel good about what you're doing. You don't feel like you're doing a disservice, but you also understand that you are realistic in the energy and everything that you can provide people, and you're making the best judgments based on the current knowledge that you have. And that is when you push people at the right time. So if you're looking for criteria to return to sport and who do you push, I mean, those are all little nuances that every patient's going to be just a little different. But ultimately, are you spending the right time on the right people? Are you selecting who you do that with? And I think for a lot of you, this is a new approach. I thought of every patient as equal, and that might be true. I totally understand where that's coming from. But once you start reaching, that point where, you're 3 to 5 years out of clinical practice, or 5 to 10, and you're tired, you're exhausted, you're putting a lot of effort and you're just not getting it back. This is one reason why you're feeling like that. It's because it's not being reciprocated, and that's okay. It's very normal. I'm telling you this. I've been practicing for a long time. I've been mentoring a lot of physical therapists, and we all share that same frustration along the way. And this is one way to ease that frustration, so that you are on the right track and you feel good about it. So there you have it. That's everything about when to push the right people and why. And if you feel you're stuck at some point in your career, it's because you only know what you know, and you got to feel good about what you're doing, and there's nothing wrong with allocating your time and energy and everything that you do differently according to the people who need it at that right time. So I think that's an open, transparent conversation that you can have with your patients. I think that's great. I think that we're afraid as clinicians, we're afraid to step on people's toes or say the wrong thing, or we're supposed to help everybody. I think that's nonsense. I think that that works for a while, and then eventually your own personal job satisfaction and what you do becomes a challenge, and that's not fair to you. You have patients who come to see you and don't really care about what you do at night, and you're over here dwelling on it. And I think it's a reality for physical therapists to really understand that your patients, that are not in it to win it, like they see you for a while and they go home and think about what's for dinner and everything else. They really don't think about you. And I think as clinicians, we're so fearful of our reputation and all these other things. Like, well, if I didn't do the right thing, I didn't give them the right program, and I didn't give them the right attention. Most of the time they really don't care. They just need the outcome. And I think that we put pressure on ourselves. And so all you have to do is understand that just if you're doing it for the right people, you're in the right place. So there you have it. If you're stuck and you need more support like this, or you find yourself stuck in patient cases and you don't know what that next step is for yourself, join my Sports PT Academy. It's literally all of these scenarios inside your own personal challenges, reviewing them with you. Where are you stuck with your sports rehab, your injury prevention, your acute injury management, your strength and conditioning, your patient cases, your post-surgical considerations. You feel exhausted, you're hitting burnout, anything that you have that is related to your personal and professional development, whether that's clinical or time management, your fitness, you're gaining more weight now that you're spending all more time in CEUs, and you feel like you're on the right path, but something's not going right. All of us feel that. And if that's you, you're not alone. And the Sports PT Academy is for clinicians who need and want the support, who are in it to win it, who want that energy and time, because they're not getting inside their current mentors or their residencies or fellowship, or inside a clinic, that they don't have motivated clinicians, or they don't have ideas to bounce off of other people, and they just are looking to like be able to do that and grow exponentially, and not just rely on annual CEU courses. And if that's for you, I encourage you to start with my Sports PT Academy. If you want more information, it's drchrisgarcia.com/academy. If you are looking for more of this related to barbell athletes, CrossFitters, weightlifters, join my Management of the Barbell Athlete CEU course coming up in October 28th and 29th of 2023, whenever you're listening to this. Other than that, continue onto the podcast. I appreciate you guys, and I hope that life is amazing and you are living it to the fullest. And I will catch you guys on the next episode. Take care.